Oh my God, we're back! Welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and it's the Age of Sigmar Stat Center with my co-host, Mr. Owen Jackson. Hey, Owen, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Mr. Robert Symes. How are thee?
I'm great, thank you very much. I'm still standing Leslie today. Big shout out to all my Leslie stands in the chat. Big shout out to Nogal Matthew in the chat for joining us. Obviously, it's filmed in front of a live studio audience and full of legends. See you all in the chat. What up? Very excited to talk about the results from Age of Sigmar events that have happened this weekend. Me and Owen have gone down the investigation rabbit hole. It's kind of like the far less severe reinterpretation of season 1 of True Detective, where at the end it just turns out that it's not like some sort of like secret organization that are controlling everything. Instead, it's just probably some Destiny dice. That's probably the
end. when we started talking about it being more of a detective agency than a stat center, my brain went straight to Hetty Wainthropp Investigates. So I can be the doddery old lady, and you can be the lad who ended up in Lord of the Rings. That's a deep cut there.
That's a deep cut. I really feel like this is more of a Quincy-style investigation. But hello, JP.
Just one more thing.
That's Columbo, my favourite TV detective.
Yeah. Wow.
Hello, everyone. Jaconda, big up. Nogal Matthew, Enwold, Bobbin, IS Drummer. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, everyone, obviously, for joining us live. You can watch this back on YouTube, or you can listen to it as a podcast, of course. So the Stat Center, if you don't know, we try and go through Age of Sigmar results. Obviously, Age of Sigmar 3 is out now, so we probably won't be covering the Age of Sigmar 2 Worlds, which is still 2 months away, and yet is a game system ago, which is pretty fascinating. But we will be looking at events and trends from Age of Sigmar around the world, events around the world. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll be putting our stats together as well. Probably maybe top of the show, shout out to our friends over at DKHMAOS, who've already put some stats together from some events. I think we've got like 6 or 7 events from around the world at the moment. But that's probably not enough at the moment. But we'll see. Like we talked about last week. But anyway, doesn't matter. Oh, and you've also been at an event this weekend, right? What's been going on?
Oh, I've had a wonderful time playing Warhammer with a lovely bunch of wargamers. The Bucks guys put on a tournament. That's the Bucks Wargaming Collective. We'll cover it in our roundup of tournaments. But yeah, I played 7 games in 4 days because my cousin came over and he spent a year and a half painting a really nice narrative Cities of Sigmar list, and then I introduced Durthu to it, and that was a fun time had by all. Shout out Adam. So yeah, played lots of Warhammer, spent time with nice people. What's not to love, eh?
Literally, why events are the best. Like hanging out with people. Yeah. We had a 40k event here at the TSN Arena this weekend, and it was just a barrel of laughs. Especially because I think we had 3 to 4 new players, which is just like the most fun. Like I was just like, they're like just really good. So if you guys have never been to events, you should go out there and play them. They are the most fun. Big boy Bucky in the chat saying Bucks are the best. Owen, are Bucks the best? Do you think? I mean, because.
I'm playing for my club at the weekend, so they're the closest second. There's a Rizzler paper between the South London Legion and the Bucks Wargaming Collective.
I'd just like you to know, so anyone out there who has any, and I mean any clubs anywhere in the world, Germany, France, Australia, Owen's just mugged you all off. The world over. Owen's willing to go from London to Buckinghamshire, and that's it. That's a total of.
I've just realised that I'm kind of an honorary member of the Scribes of War, so sorry, guys. I just want to be friends with everyone. Maybe I should just stop having any affiliation. But anyway, it was fun. It was great.
Right, so should we jump in and look at some results? No 2-day events this weekend, or 1 2-day event this weekend?
2 2-day events.
Apologies.
No, you're all good. There were 2. You've been Mr. International Investigator, and I've been more of the UK based. I like to keep it, local. Where do you want to start? Do you want to lead off, or shall we talk about UK stuff?
We could. I can start. I don't mind starting off. I'll just want to shout out, because it lets me talk about a couple of things. Number 1, I've just put in the chat, Age of Sigmar Stat Center @gmail.com. That's our email if you want to fire us any information events that you've got going on in the future, just so we can kind of take that in. And similarly, there's a calendar, which I haven't filled in this week, but I'm going to be filling in this week for Age of Sigmar 2 and Age of Sigmar 1 dayers around the world. So if you have any you want me to upload onto the calendar, or if you want to volunteer some time and be someone who helps fill that calendar in for the community, let me know. And then we can just kind of get them out there, because I think that's one of the hardest things for people to find. Just like mine and Owen, like Owen was talking about when we investigate, like there's been events all over, and it's only thanks to actually this first email that I got from Henning Wolf. Had it not been for that, I wouldn't have known that there was a 40-person one-day event actually this weekend over in Germany. So it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have known, because where do you find it? There's no way to find it. So that's kind of what we're trying to create. So the more people who get involved, or anyone who wants to volunteer some time to help get involved do that, let me know, and we'll do that, because that's going to be good. Hey everyone, hey Shorty Point Studios. Hello everyone. Is that for in-person events only? MJ, yeah, probably for in-person events only. Like, ultimately, a huge fan of TTS. Owen, obviously, a huge fan of TTS as well. I just think that's the things we're going to cover as we go forward, just because that's the situation. Right, anyway, it was 38 in the round. Thanks, Enwold. 40-man one day of madness. Owen, actually, let's just talk about that while I just bring up the information. How do you feel about large one-dayers?
Well, that's the thing, actually. Talking about TTS, a lot of I only did exclusively one days for a long time. And I ended up getting 60 people one days, which then meant that we went to that bracket thing where we took the top 16 off and then did a little finals thing afterwards. Because the fundamental thing, and I've only learned this from playing more and more Warhammer tournaments, is it's very hard to split the field with such a large one dayer, isn't it? And in that sense, you need to have a good pack which has a way to differentiate how many. I'm not a Math Hammer player. How many 3-0s would you get out of 40? You might have four, five, six players all winning their games.
In this particular event, you got 5. I think that actually kind of leads on to an interesting conversation that we had before, and I don't want to I think you and me can maybe do a show on this whole conversation, but I'll be quick about it. I personally think that when we're looking at these event results over the next few years, I think that it would be better for us to look at the brackets as opposed to the placings in some way. And what I mean by that is, if there are, as an example, in this one-day event, you've got 40 people, that's great, everyone's having a laugh. There were 5 people in the 3-0 bracket. You could have a huge 200-person event or a 150-person event in the future, and you might have 3 or 4 people go 5-0. Now, to quote my friend Joe P., he'll never go to an event that's 6 games. Most Age of Sigmar players won't. So you need a way to differentiate them out. But I still think you deserve a shout-out for being in that bracket. And I think, and similarly, one of the things you and me talked about off air, if you guys go back and listen to the show last week, Soulblight Gravelords are dominating the 4-1 bracket. They're everywhere. They're top of the pile in a bunch of 3-0 events, and they're also just smashing it in that 4-1 bracket. They just pop up all the time, and it's always something a little bit different. Sometimes it's you've got a Vengori Lord and you've got Nagash. Sometimes, but sometimes it's not. We've seen Belladama, and we've seen Belladama and not Yorick. That's a League of Legends champion. What's his name? Unleashed.
Radikar.
Yeah, Radikar. And sometimes we've seen like that. So actually the 4-1 bracket and the 5-0 bracket or the 3-0 bracket are interesting brackets to look at. And I think there's a better way of looking at results. I'm not sure what you think of it.
No, I agree, definitely, because it can be one, anyone who's attended any reasonable amount of tournaments knows that it's a combination of, luck, skill, judgment. There are some fine little minor things which push somebody up to win. In some packs, it may be sports or painting or whatever. But then sitting below them, there might be a number of really good armies, really good players who've had an excellent weekend, but just a tiny thing dropped them down. And to only concentrate on that top winner, the headline, sometimes we're going to miss developing stories lower down. Also, when you've got something really dominant like Zeech Archeon taking out a lot of first places.
I was about to say that, especially when the meta is incredibly stale, Owen. Not that it is,
yes,
but in some situations. No. You guys didn't have to do this. I did the stat center during Sinesh's dominance. wasn't a fun time. People like tune in like, "Hey Rob, Sinesh." I'm like, "Yeah, Sinesh again, lads." And they're like, "Fuck, like, this fucking sucks." Anyway, so let's talk about this, shall we? So, Mini Paradise is an event over in Kassel, Germany. They had 40 players, 2 dropped out, so it ended up being 38 players, which is still pretty huge, right? 38 players playing over in Germany. They've got another event in October as well for 60 players. They're going to have a 2-dayer. We'll get some more information on that in the future. So, if you are in Germany and you're hanging out around there, I'm not 100% certain where Kassel is in Germany, but sounds like a great place. The interesting thing about this, so in our top bracket, so in our 3-0 bracket, we have 5 people. 2 of those were Sons of Bahamut lists. So 2 Sons of Bahamut lists went 3-0. Now, the lists are available, but because we got the information slightly late, this is the one where I've got the least info, but I will be putting all of these lists on the Honest Wargamer website. So Ulf, Thiel, and Philip Fusel, they went 3-0. They had Take a Tribe. And what's interesting, they were different, right? Ulf was running a Taker Tribe, and then Philip was running 3 Gatebreakers. So they mixed it up, and they mixed it up. The Zinch also went 3-0. We had a Zinch list, and this was Guild of Summoners by Wolfgang Bongartz. Can't be a real name. Just cannot.
I was going to say, Rob, one of the things that I'm loving about this is you having to pronounce all 5 of these German names. Like I'm sure the chat are the same. That's all I'm here for. I don't actually care what armies they list, but you saying Wolfgang Bongartz, which sounds like a sort of leader of some kind of maybe he did the Bong Cloud Guild of Summoners.
I hope he did. He Bong Clouded it up. So that was the Zinch Guild of Summoners list, and then you had a Slaves to Darkness. This is Mortis Schultz. Mortis Mormal Schultz. He had Be'lakor and Archeon in the Slaves to Darkness list, which I think is a combo we're going to see a lot. And again, I'll put these lists on the website after. Sorry, I'm not deep diving them. We are for the other event lists. And then we had a KO go 3-0. And actually, first instance I think we've seen of KO doing super well. Double Ironclad with Gotrek in there. So this is Patrick Liu. So that's kind of one of those things to shout out about. And the nice thing there is the variety. If you were going into a day 2, that would be an interesting day 2 set of matches, right? With Sons of Bahamut maybe testing the KO list and Gotrek potentially. Be'lakor and Archeon into Zinch, interesting choices. But that would be a fun kind of setup into day 2. This really also points to being able to use the differential system if you wanted to separate out that bracket. So on the Honest Wargamer website, honestwargamer.com, we've got the spite system, so the 2-point differential system, which is used recently by Colonel Cabbage at the London Open. I'm sure it'll be used again at the next London Open, and I think it's going to be used generally all over the place. And that would be a nice way to separate out that top 5 if you wanted to separate out the top 5. Personally, I think that's great right now. Yeah?
Yeah, I think the headline on that list, Double Ironclad and Gotrek. There is a general sort of narrative around how KO do not operate in Age of Sigmar 3.0 at all, and they need some serious surgery to some of their mechanics. But obviously, Patrick's made it work. I think, you stick Gotrek in any order list, and he does provide a problem for your opponent that many lists can't deal with. So I think maybe Gotrek papers over the cracks of the KO book there. But props. Yeah, and you're right. It is nice that every week we talk, and like 3.0 is so many changes that there is an ever-changing meta, and it's going to take a while to settle down. And in the meantime, there is lots of different stuff on the top tables. So I think that's good for the game in general, right?
Yeah, really good. And I think, so that was over in Germany. Just to quickly talk about some other stuff, this Henning Wolf, I think, was the TO. If he wasn't the TO, he sent us the info, so thank you. And then our battle plans were Survival of the Fittest, Feral Foray, and Power Struggle, is what we ended up playing, which I think is interesting. Avoiding, I'm going to say it right now, Owen, I'm not sure about you in some of these packs, avoiding Apex Predators, which has to be probably the playing into the dominant list meta pick for battle plans at the moment, and I probably wouldn't choose it at the moment.
I've never played it, I'll be honest with you. I thought Survival of the Fittest was Apex Predators. because it's got like you choose predators in Survival of the Fittest. That's right,
yeah.
isn't it? You have 3. Yeah, I thought that was the mission. I was always thinking, oh no, that's quite fun, that one. I quite like that. But no, I don't even know what Apex Predators is. So if you say it's awful, I respect your decision, and yeah, I hope not to play it. One thing I've noticed in your notes as well, Rob, they must have a good community going there, because it says that they've got a 60-player event coming up in October.
Yeah.
So yeah, a vibrant scene.
Germany's wicked. They got the German Tabletop Championships every year. They've got a load of players over in Germany, loads, just like France and Spain. France and Spain also have huge communities. Italy's got like a growing community that's doing really well as well. So like Sweden's obviously, as we know, has got a huge community. Norway has like 30, 40 man events. Like pre-COVID, they were starting to get up to those numbers pretty consistently. So
Are you laughing at Diadrin?
Yeah, I'm laughing at Diadrin and also ignoring him in the chat as well. You're a brat. You're the worst brat, is what you are, Diadrin. Get out of here.
He's a brat first.
There we go. So more events that we can hear about in the future, let us know. But Sons of Bahamut, Owen, I think we're going to see them do generally really well in the one-dayers, and also pushing into 2-day events. I think we'll see them in 4-1 bracket quite a lot, because they're just a classic DPS check as an army. They're the new. Do you know what they are? They're the new Blight King spam as a list.
Yeah. Yeah, and Amulet of Destiny just is like to the moon, isn't it?
Straight to the moon. There's loads of people buying Mr. T dolls off Amazon or wherever, and then they're just taking all the chains off and they're just draping them over their Sons of Bahamuts, and they're like, these are the Amulets of Destinies. Look at it. Just
It makes me feel like, sometimes when you work in an office and you go to press, like, I want 1 copy of that, and you have a little moment and you do like 1,111 copies of the piece of paper. It's like somebody in the Amulet of Destiny, they were like, right, we want to print 5 of these Amulet of Destinies. We want to create 5. They're going to be a unique item that only certain characters throughout the mortal realms are going to be able to buy. And then they just went to produce the amulets, and they just screwed it, and they just made like 50,000 of them. So they're just like everywhere. Because if you go to a tournament and a Sons of Bahamut Kraken Eater Mega Gargant doesn't have an Amulet of Destiny, I'll eat my hat.
Agreed. There's a great question actually from Arcane Ring in the chat. It says, how do you suggest gauging your army's DPS to see if you can handle Sons of Bahamut or other similar armies? That's a great question. I'm not 100% certain. Like you know if you're building a DPS army though versus if you're building something else. I think that's in the list writing stage. Some lists aren't designed to kill. I think a lot back on the Super Series, and I think about 80 Max Despoiler's list for him is Slaves to Darkness is Triple Corn Demon Prince, Be'lakor, and a bunch of Marauders. The Marauders can do okay damage and never bring down a Mega Gargant, as we saw, because he played against Mega Gargants twice, but what he was able to do was control the board space, eventually bringing down a Mega Gargant over a couple of turns, whereas 30 Fire Slayers, a brick of 15 Fire Slayers, like Hearthguard Berserkers, they'll do it, right? So you just need to math it out, right? So they've got 35 or 40 wounds, the Mega Gargants, and they'll either have the Enchanted Portcullis or they'll have the Amulet of Destiny, which will be a 5-up after damage save on top of that as well. So just ask yourself, can you, against a 3-up save, because obviously they're going to use all-out defense, can you do those more than 80 wounds, right? It's like against a 4-up save.
Not forgetting that if the opponent knows that you're going to go into that guy, he could go for Super Tuesday, and he could be on a 2-up save with a 5-up ward save of 35 wounds. So there's not much that can get through that. One last note on this, Rob, is there was a conversation we had at the weekend between a few of the guys I was at the tournament with, and it doesn't feel quite right that the auto kill effects, such as Hand of Dust, Slayer of Kings, you can put another god in the sword, but you can't put a giant baby in the sword. So, like, I do think that, a nappy-wearing monster should take something like, let's say, I think 3d6 mortal wounds rather than dying, not like d6. Because if you do 1 mortal wound from this, God-specific, amazing ability that scares everybody else in the field, but a giant toddler just goes, one mortal wound, 5 up. Anyway,
I don't know. The older I get, the more significant I think blind ignorance is in life. If I'm 100% honest. And Tavi Game makes a really good point in the chat to kind of answer Arcane Ring's question. If you can't kill it, stop it where it's going. I think that's a really solid point. So yeah.
And also another point from Tavi saying maybe it's just too much flesh to fit in the sword. It's like, no room at the inn, bruv. Sorry, just can't fit that much mega in. Anyway, it's
yeah, no, I agree. Okay, so that was the the list over in Germany. Now to fire over to, I don't know where this was. So this is Game Night AOS tournament because it's taken from BCP. I don't know where it is in the world or any other information, but it's some information. So the list is in the chat for you guys right now. So this is there were 3 people in the 3-0 bracket. So you had Fire Slayers, you had Stormcast, and you had Host of the Ever Chosen, which was 7th Circle. Hey, Shorty Paint Studios, I helped run it. Oh, nice. Where was it? Please let me know. That's fun. Defo space in the Gotrek sword. Okay, hopefully he's going to tell me in the chat. So the first one, so Owen, the Stormcast list, which I think, in London, Ontario. Fucking got it. Thanks, buddy. Nailed it. So it's in Canada, which is cool. So, Stormcast Eternals list, Ynastra, Lord Arcanum, Lord Imperator, 3x5 Vindicators as battle line, and then I've seen this a couple of times now in different lists at different one-day events. One of the things, Owen, we always used to look at 5.0 events all the time. I like looking at these little cheeky one-day events because I reckon this is where a lot of the list tech gets initially developed. It's kind of like being, it's like being like a music guy going to like all those like shitty warehouse gigs, just being like, maybe you guys are the next Arctic Monkeys. Yeah, they are the next Arctic Monkeys. Right? And this is, so 3x5 Vindicators, and the next Arctic Monkeys might be this 5x3 units of Annihilators. Those are the new Stormcast models from Dominion, right? So 3x5 Annihilators. And they've got some really interesting tech in the army. Specifically, when they land, they pick a unit within 10 inches, and on a 3+, they take D3 mortal wounds. Do that 5 times. You're probably going to get, 3 as a guarantee? So 3d3 mortal wounds at range is like a nice start. And then they get a rerollable charge, and then they basically get impact hits like an ogre against one. If it's against a single model, it's on a 6. But if it's not on a single model, it's on 4s. And they've got a rerollable charge. So you've got potentially, again, a bunch of impact hits coming out of those as well, which I think is a really interesting take for a list. You can see where that damage...
I've got 2 things on that one, Rob, because now that you've talked about it, I know I've got a story from Twitter, which was Jordan Duncan, shout out Season of War, Season of War Jordan. Yeah. He played it, and he said, he put on the thing, he was playing with his Lumineth, and he took 35 mortal wounds before the combat phase. Oh, yeah,
so Shorty Paint Studios, who ran the event, is just talking to us in the chat. The Stormcast Eternal player got 36 mortal wounds in the Wardens before they charged.
Yeah, that's the story. Yeah. That's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. It's and also everyone's informed me it's each unit within 10 inches. Apologies. Each unit.
So it's like a big AoE.
Yeah, but it's 5 AoEs. So you're basically doing 5 croaks.
So a techless player being a bit salty about taking mortal wounds in an AoE.
Was that Jordan? being salty?
Yeah. I don't know. No, I don't want to put words in his mouth. He wasn't salty. He was just commenting upon it because it's mad. But yeah. Also, Rob, I think that there's an ability when they drop down that if there's a character that makes them a 7-inch, they drop down outside of 7.
Yeah. So that's the Lord Imperator.
So woo.
Yeah, so everyone in the chat said it was bananas. So again, a 3-0 event, so it's not winning one of these big 100-person, 200-person 5-0s, but it's something definitely to talk about. I'm going to deep dive the list a little bit, although Probably not like sorry, on another show. So I'm going to start doing a series of list review shows in the future. But like, yeah, it's very, very impressive, is what I'm trying to say. And then he's got Yanastra in as well, and Yanastra just fucks, is what I'm going to say. So very interesting. Those Vindicators are pretty good, 10 wounds. They're going to hold objectives really nice, really cheap as well. 140 points for 5 Vindicators. I think the detraction from them is that it's 5 models on an objective as opposed to it being 10 models with 1 wound. But like, they fight well, they've got a great armor save, they're really solid, so I think that's really interesting. But yeah, anyway, really, really fascinating. So that's one of the lists that was at the weekend, and that's again up on the Honest Wargamer site already. Now, next up, Shawnee Murray. That was Owen Schindel, by the way, who ran the Stormcast. Owen Schindel, so I should say that. Now, the next list that I'm going to talk about is there in the chat for everyone if you guys want to open it up. Now, this is a Fireslayers list. Now, this really made me think back to the faction reaction for the Fireslayers we did with Richie. It's still Hermdar. Yeah, but don't worry, I'm not going to say Lords of the Lodge. You can't say that anymore, right? And then, don't worry. So, Auric Runefather on Magmadroth, Auric Runesmiter, and he's got Curse, which I think is going to be really good for this army. And then a Battlesmith. And then he's just used all of his reinforcement points. He's got 2 bricks of 15 Hearthguard Berserkers. They're taking up the middle. He's got a unit of 10 Volkite Berserkers as well. And then Gotrek's in the list as well with 5 Auric Hearthguard. So he's got 3 huge threats. And it's just going to 100% going to just dominate like the center objectives. And it's going to play really, really well into primaries. And I think this is just as good a list maybe as Age of Sigmar 2, Owen. I don't know what you think.
Well, I played Hermdar with Gotrek on Saturday. I managed to eke out a draw, but you've got to try and distract the Ginger Missile, I think. But it's even if they don't go twice, the fact that you can go with a CP, you can go with your Hearthguard, and then you can activate Gotrek before your opponent gets to go, that's still incredibly powerful. Or go first with a unit of Hearthguard and then go with the other unit. So rather than one unit going twice, you still get 2 activations before your opponent gets to go. And, smaller boards. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's what Habsman said. It's just waddle at me harder, Fireslayer Daddy. That's all it is. But once they're on those objectives, and they're closer as well, you start closer to central objectives now in Age of Sigmar 3, so they're closer. And once they're on there, good luck lifting 15 Hearthguard Berserkers without taking a bit of a bloody nose, right?
Yeah, you need fast screens. I mean, as a bit of context, in my game, I just ran 5 Death Riders in a line in front of his whole army to block him from getting on the objectives, tried to distract him with Nagash for a bit, and then held on for a draw while they just chewed through my whole army. 125 points for 5 Hearthguard Berserkers is great. Very nice. That's very good. Yeah. Because, the -1 to wound bubble that comes off the general is still incredibly powerful. And, without shooting, it's hard to get to them. You're often putting the Runefather on a Magmadroth, so he's much more resilient, and you can heal him back up again now. So, like, losing that key tech piece that's giving off the -1 to wound bubble and also the 4-up, the DPR. I think that the Ginger lads have still got a lot of play, especially when you slot in the missile.
I agree, especially when you put the missile in. That's what we call him now. He's now just the missile.
The missile, yeah.
Who, by the way, doesn't do, he does well in tournaments, but generally doesn't win tournaments so far based on event results, just as a throw-in. Before anyone gets too triggered about him. Bin Panzered in the chat is actually the player who's running the Fireslayer list. He said, I chose Fireslayers after seeing the missions posted. So there you go, had some effect. And also, he got checked a few things yesterday. Now, your list is on the website, so on thiswargamer.com. If you want to do a write-up, write your own version of it and do a write-up of how your games went, that would be awesome. I encourage anyone who I mention in any of these things to go and write your list yourself on the site and do a write-up. Mainly, there's no advertising on the site. I get no money from it. It actually costs me money every year. So, I get nothing from it. But the community gets something from it if you write yourself up an article. Because then you can share it, because it's like a blog that you can write yourself. You can share it out to the world and people can read it. And that should be really cool. If everyone's doing it, it'll be a cool place for everyone to check things out, right?
Yeah, and we're going to be using more and more as an asset for the stats center, right? We're going to be posting up those bracket winning lists. We're going to be posting up interesting lists that we find. So yeah, if you want to know what's going on, and if you want to go back, because both you and I, Rob, we are aware that we talk a lot and it's very information rich, and sometimes people don't have the opportunity to go and look at those things. So if you do hear about a list that you like on the Honest Walk on this show, more than likely it's going to then be on the site, isn't it? So,
More than, yeah. I'm even going to go back and try and put some of the other bracket lists on there as well. But if you guys run them, you should write them. Or if you've got a fun idea for a list, write one up and put it on there so we can talk about it. Now, the final one in this 3-0 bracket at this event was this Slaves to Darkness list right here. So this is Host the Ever-Chosen, Sixth Circle, Archeon. Now he's got that Tzeentch aura as well, which is going to give him the Spell Ignore, which is huge, so even more effect. Chaos Sorcerer, Lord of Manticore, which is seen in a lot of lists, again with Master of Magic and Amulet of Destiny, making him very, very solid with Mask of Darkness. Then the Chaos Sorcerer Lord and Chaos Lord, so piling attack twice on Archeon is what you're going to be seeing there. And then 10 Chaos Warriors, 5 Chaos Knights, and 3 Varangard with Chaos with the Mark of Tzeentch. Now we've seen the Mark of Sinesh put on these Varangard previously. We've actually seen a similar-ish list as well run over in Australia where it was triple Sinesh Varangard 3s, which was quite cool with the pile-in, with the exploding 6s on all their attacks, which I thought was very cool. And obviously Chaos Lord is going to be able to make them pile-in attack as well. So it's not just Archeon. You've got to kind of look out for all of those threats. And I think that's very good. And I think Slaves of Darkness stonks are actually kind of up, to be honest, Owen. I think because Archeon's obviously brilliant as well, but the Varangard got cheaper. Everything else went up, or they didn't go up points. One of those two. They either didn't go up points or they got cheaper in AOS 3, and they're very good. They're very, very good. So I think Slaves of Darkness being pulled up by those Marauders at the moment, and that was run by, let me just get this right, Zach Arens, or Zach Arens, I don't know how to say it, Zach Arens, and well done to him. So so a nice diverse like top 3, right? Stormcast, Fyreslayers, Host the Ever-Chosen, and then at the other top bracket, Sons of Bahamut are in there, Tzeentch are in there, a bunch of stuff. So some nice one-dayers from around the world.
Yeah, man. And one little note on the slaves. The thing that where my brain goes straight away is Mark of Tzeentch gives you reroll 1s to save, which is really hard to get. And I think overall, even though there are a few hits to the Sorcerer Lord and things like that, they're one of the only books that retained a reasonable amount of rerolls. And the fact that if you collect the army, you can plug it into lots of different marks. So I think we've talked in the past. I don't think it's a first army for people because it's quite complex. But if you do invest in slaves units, you're going to be able to use them in a multitude of different ways. So yeah, definitely a second army, I'd say. And cropping up everywhere, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And Tomagin's just saying that they didn't go up, actually, which means they basically, because there was about a 15% hike game-wide, so they basically got 15% cheaper, effectively, which is pretty good. It's pretty good on a unit that was okay. So yeah, that's all I've got from around the world, Owen. But nice mix of stuff, right? With a cheeky kind of the next Arctic Monkeys in there.
Yeah, man. The Arctic Annihilators.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, like, people are going to have those models, right? People are buying Dominion boxes and they're snapping up. I think, like, the people splitting up and selling off the bits of the Dominion box that they don't want.
Yeah, the other half.
I think, you're going to be able to get your hands on those relatively easily. I've got to talk for a while now, haven't I, Rob? Because it's the UK.
All on you, baby.
Yikes! I'll rattle through. So, we had 3 events in the UK this weekend that I was aware of. Again, if you are running regular events or there's something I missed, get in touch with me on Twitter or whatever, and let me know of your events. But what I'm aware of, we've got 3 events. So, Pompey Pillage is a regular on the scene. I'm not sure how many years it's been run for, but it is a regular down on the south coast. So this is run by Paul Marshalsea. It's at the Horndean Technical College. I think that's the same venue for South Coast GT, the Horndean, down in Portsmouth. They had 20 players, and it was 5 rounds and a 2-day event. So lots of pictures, some really good hobby. I think Matt Lyons pro painted, took out the painting with his Bitter Claw Raiders.
With
you know,
his
the
3D
the
printed, his
giant
3D
crabs.
printed ogre army, yeah, it's amazing. So the 3D prints all
Man.
from Titan Forge, and he's got the big crab, basically pirate ogres. They look amazing. A huge fan of Matt's army. I think it's phenomenal.
So yeah, loads of wicked hobby on, and in terms of the gaming, the winner and the only player not to drop a game, I believe it was 3 major wins and 2 minors, is Steve Phillips with a Seraphon Thunder Lizard list. Very monster heavy. It is up on the Honest Wargamer site. Perhaps while I'm rambling, Rob, you might be able to chuck a link in while I... Man, this is like such an information-rich morning, isn't it? I find I need a little lie down after the stats. I don't know.
Yeah, putting it all together is a lot. Like one of the things that's why I want to start doing list shows off the back of it, because I think, like we said, we do, like sometimes we're just giving information out like a lot, and it's like, okay, let's actually break it down, like the guys in the chat are doing at the moment. I'll go find these lists in a second, Owen. Give me a second.
Yeah, I've got it in front, so I can reel it off, but they are in there. So it's Thunder Lizard. His grand strategy was Beastmaster, which is a bit of a no-brainer. And in the leader slots, he had a Saurus Scarvet on Carnosaur, who's the general, with the 2 tax items, so Prime War Beast, Fusel of Conflagration. Slan Starmaster with Itchy Grubs and Stellar Tempest, an Engine of the Gods, an Astrolith Bearer, and a Skink Priest with Heal. And then his battle line were 2 units of 5 Knights with Lances, a Stegodon with a Sky Streak Bow because it's battle line in Thunder Lizard, and then 2 Bastillodons with Solar Engines and the Emerald Life Swarm. So monsters for days, right? I mean, that's probably how GW envisioned a Thunder Lizard list looking, right?
Yeah.
You know, we've got
Yeah, and he's committed pretty heavily. He's got 4 monsters, right? So like he's potentially giving up those 4 monster points, but he's also giving himself a bunch of options. You can't argue with that Sky Streak Bow. Potentially 9 damage coming out of that from a pretty standalone piece. The Stegodon works really well with all-out attack because it doesn't hit super well. So +1 to hit is going to work really nicely on it. Interestingly, they didn't have the time to get the Skink Chief on Stegodon for a few extra cheeky points on top, just because that way you obviously would be able to use their finest hour as well. Then you can +1 to wound, and you can combo that a little bit because it's the same weapon loadout effectively, but it is a big points difference, I guess. The Saurus Knights for holding objectives, but it's a lot of damage at range, and the Scarvet could do some pretty solid work as well in combat. Like, it's nice. Like, the interesting thing about the Seraphon army still, thanks Get Hooked for resubscribing and everyone for subscribing today, that we don't talk about enough, is that you basically probably don't have characters after, like, maybe turn 2 or 3. Like, you've got the Shrine for blowing up pieces of terrain and doing some mortal wound chip damage and maybe killing a character or 2. And then you've just got fucking Comet's Call, which is just brilliant. Like, if you've got, like, a 5 wound character, it's most likely they're not making it through, like, turn 2. Like...
Yeah.
Or, you know, like...
And even then, Rob, if you're not killing it, you're forcing your opponent to try and heal, which means they're not going for that extra CP, so you're limiting their options, you know, to buff their own stuff. Also, there's some cute tech in there in that he's got, obviously, 3 sources of healing. So he's got the heal on the prayer from the priest, the life swarm double taps. So he's going to be able to keep stuff topped up. And then a nice pick I see is that he's put both the Bastillodons in the Alpha Beast pack. So he's going to get a D6 pre-game move. So, you know, it's going to extend the range of those Basties even more. So it's the kind of list that deploying against it, you're going to have to deploy quite defensively if you want to protect your characters.
Yeah,
right?
Seraphon just been like jealous of watching all those Host Arcanum Zinch lists do it for all of last edition. Now they're like, oh, me too, bitch. Yeah.
Let's go.
And now they're moving those Bastillodons up. Gives them a pretty good effective range as well.
Yeah, super scary. So normally they've got a 5-inch move and a 24-inch shot. And on smaller boards, I mean, the board is actually, it's what, 44? Yeah. So you're at 29, and if you roll like a 4, you've got a 33-inch threat range. So you're pushing your opponent's army right back if you want to protect your characters. And also engine, you think to yourself, Coalesce don't summon, but Engine of the Gods, you double tap that with the CP. You might get some Saurus Warriors, which is going to give you some bodies. I can see why he did well with that, definitely.
And you're reducing damage down by 1. Like, it's just really solid.
Oh yeah, that's the thing we always forget. That really amazing allegiance ability.
That's very useful. Also, just Life Swarm in there as well as the Universal Prayer heal. He's got like a lot of potential healing. Don't forget, you can double tap Life Swarm, so healing 2d3 into Bastillon or into the Saurus Scarvet on Carnosaur, who's going to be in the fight. Could really give him some options, right?
Yeah, and props to Tavi in the chat. He knows his Seraphon. Obviously, you can give run and shoot with one of the silly little lizards that sits in the back and flicks the V's at you. You've got an over 40-inch threat range, so basically nothing is safe.
Yeah.
So solid. So that was Steve Phillips, the only player not to drop a game. In second place, I've been saying it for ages, man. Nurgle strong. So Martin Clark went 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss with a munificent Wanderers Nurgle list, and then Anthony Kirby with a really beautiful Sons of Bahamut list, a Taker tribe list. He actually won 4 games and only lost 1, but because of several of the wins were minors, I believe. So he ended up in 3rd.
Okay.
So yeah. Seraphon, Nurgle, and Sons with the Ascendant armies there. And that was Pompey Pillage.
Amazing. That sounds fun. 20 players, right?
Yeah, 20 players. I'm not sure if they were limited at all with COVID stuff. I did see some videos, and everyone seemed to be having a wicked time.
Good.
So we can go from Portsmouth in the south of England all the way up to, well, not all the way, but up north to Leeds. So this is Leodis Games. They put on a monthly Age of Sigmar tournament. So this was 14 players. And the TO there is Simon Burdett. So thanks to Simon for reaching out and giving me the results. Yes, we only had one person in the 3-0 bracket, Rob, and it was David Nemeth with Disciples of Siege.
Woohoo!
Hosts Arcanum.
Yes.
Archaon.
Ah, okay. I've seen this before, but not.
Yeah, man. I don't know if you've heard. Actually, it's quite.
But he didn't take Kairos with it. He hasn't gone for the Kairos build.
No, he's gone for
the summoning build.
It's got the insane summoning engine. Even so far as he's put the Arcane Tome on a Chaos Lord on foot, so that he gets 2 spells.
Very good. Fucking very good. Yeah.
You know what? I was reading through the list and I was like, he's got all of these heroes, and how come he's still got room for pinks? And it's like, yes, because K-Bob isn't there.
The Kairos. But he still put Umbral Spoil Portal in, just showing the power of that reach out and Chronomantic Cogs. Just in case you guys don't know, just to help, what we mean by the summoning build is normally you see Archaon, who is in this list, with Kairos, and it's just a huge control deck. We saw Fabian do so well with it last at Mancunian Kai's last week, go 5-0. Fabian's actually playing this weekend at the Super Series event this Saturday with the band show at 6:30 tonight. So I wonder if the opposing team are going to be trying to shut that down. But by the summoning build, what we mean is because of Cogs, each wizard is able to cast an additional spell. And then, if you cast a spell successfully in Tzeentch, you get a fate point, which generates you a summoning point. A fate point is a summoning point, and it's only 10 fate points to summon 10 blue horrors, 12 for like an exalted flamer, 20 for another unit of pinks. And you could reliably probably be getting a unit of pinks out every 2 turns. Maybe if your opponent's casting a few spells as well, you could even get some pinks in a turn with a good summoning list, because he's got a lot of spells here.
Yeah, hey Rob, I've just noticed my Mac is about to die, so I'm going to run this and get my charger.
Oh, nice!
Such a pro.
I'll read it out. I'll read it out. I'll carry on.
Could you explain how obnoxious Cogs are and why they should be banned in Tzeentch? And I'll be back in a minute.
Cogs, as I said, they give you +1 cast to everyone. But I'll throw through the list. It's Changecaster, who's the general. So he's got the Spell Hunters, which is an unbind 1s, 3, and 5 in turns 1, 3, and 5. Blue Scribes with Full Reality. And he's got Archeon, obviously, with Shield of Fate and Infusion Arcanum. Infusion Arcanum, +1 to hit, +1 to wound. Shield of Fate is rerolls based on how many Destiny dice you've got left. Then you've got Chaos Sorcerer Lord with Glimpse of Future and Arcane Suggestion, which means it's going to generate an extra Destiny dice. And he's also got a Chaos Sorcerer Lord with Ghost Mist, Universal Spell Lore, because at this point he's just running out of spells, which is give a unit fly, and then Law of Fate, which is Bolt of Tzeentch, which is a great spell, D6 Mortal Wounds, and Chaos Sorcerer Lord, as Owen said, with the Arcane Tome, with the mark of with Flaming Weapon and Levitate, so to give himself a kick-ass Chaos Sorcerer Lord as well. And he's gone for double Warlord battalions because specifically the thing you really, really need in this build is you need to be able to take the spell enhancement so you can double on your spells. So there's a lot of spells there.
Yeah, man. I mean, that layering of like one enhancement gives all of your wizards an extra spell, and then 45 points means that they can all cast that extra spell. You basically doubled the fate points for the army, because you found, remember when we played and you were like, oh, have I got any more spells, because you're basically looking for more things to cast, with your 8 arms change caster just going mental. Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to be the Age of Sigmar Salt Center, but the way that some of the new rules and the enhanced, you talk about making the good things better, definitely Tzeentch have they've stayed very much at the top, haven't they?
Yeah.
With some of the 3.0 changes.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
They're really good. It's really solid. Really solid list. Archeon and Tzeentch, really, really good. There's definitely 2 Archeon and Tzeentch builds. There's the summoning variant versus the more control deck Kairos variant. This is another one that's gone 3-0, and I'm sure we're going to see it more in the future as well, depending on whether or not your events allow you to use your rules or they decide you can't have rules. It's your choice. You can mix it up as you see fit, depending on your event. Yeah.
Yes. Then runner-up, we were talking about it. We have mentioned it. A Soul Blight list was the top of the 2 wins and 1 loss bracket. As David's Host Arcanum was the only 3 wins. So this is James Clark with the Soul Blight list, playing Legion of Night. Not something we've talked about a great deal. I can get that list up, actually. Let's have a very, very quick look at this one. Why not? Here we go. I've got it here. Hold the line caller. So, yeah, this is James Clark. So, Soul Blight Gravelords, Legion of Night, Prize Sorcery. On a note, Rob, if you ever see somebody who isn't running Prize Sorcery or Beastmaster as their grand strategy, I think that's an immediate sports vote. Even if they're the biggest dickhead in the room, they're going to get my sports vote for not running that strategy. Because are there any others? I don't even know what the other ones are. Anyway, so his list is Manfred von Carstein with Pinions, a Coven Throne with Flaming Weapon, a Necromancer with the Arcane Tome, and another Necromancer with Morbeg's Claw, 30 skeletons, 10 skeletons, 3 Vargheists, 20 Graveguard, look out people, 20 Graveguard, that's what I'm saying, 5 Blood Knights, and a Corpse Cart with the Balefire Brazier. Nice. Nice list.
Yeah, and what was the dynasty? Was it in
Legion of Night?
Oh, okay.
So that's the deep striking one, isn't it?
Yeah, interesting. Those Graveguard are going to do some solid work in the game. Like, solid work. Like, in a time when we haven't... Like, Hearthguard Berserkers are a good example where we've really seen them take a kind of like a scalpel or a hammer to, like, large infantry bricks that do solid work. There aren't many elite infantry bricks left in the game. Like, even if you think about brutes, which are brilliant, a brick of 10 brutes will do some solid work with a war chanter buff. But like those Graveguard, 30 Graveguard, when they're buffed up, when you stick them the buffs, they are going to do mighty things. So yeah, very like they're one of the standout units. They kind of almost the antithesis of like Phoenix Guard in a way. Where the Phoenix Guard are going to tank it and do some moderate damage. These guys are not going to tank that much, but they're going to do some pretty significant damage. So big fan of the Graveguard.
Yeah, I would say everybody who thinks like, "Ooh, why is that?" Then go and have a look at their war scroll. They may only have a 4-inch move, but put those great white blades on, and they were, maybe put them in. I like them in Vicross for the +1 to wound, and they're solid AF.
And which is the
Another
list we
thing to
saw.
note, Rob.
Go on, after you. Sorry.
No. I'm sorry. That was you were going to say it was one of the lists we saw. I think in America that did really well.
Yeah,
right?
and it's the overlapping buffs like Radikar and also Belladama, also able to add additional like pluses to attack or exploding sixes, all from different sources as well. So it's not just those command ability stacking, which can't really do anymore. Spells plus general abilities, auras, even Manfred. You could do some really solid work with that Brick of Graveguard if you wanted to with those support characters.
No, yeah, it's the last thing to note is that I had an epiphany this weekend, Rob.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it wasn't an epiphany. Maybe it was just being told by a Soul Blight player and go like, oh, but skeletons regenerate when they activate.
Yep.
So if you put Van Hells on them, they regenerate twice every time they go.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
like everyone's talking a lot about zombies, but I think skellies are excellent as well. And it looks like a proper undead army, doesn't it? So yeah, I like Soul Blight Gravelord a lot.
Same.
And then finally, we had Dan Quirk with a Slaves to Darkness list, which is host of the Everchosen. He was another one on the 2-1 bracket, and he came in third. I'd imagine it's an Archaon list in hosts, but let's not be too presumptuous. Oh, that's interesting. How's that? He went 3-0, but only came third.
Don't know, soft scores maybe?
Okay. Maybe. Anyway, let's have a very quick look. Archaon, Marcus Zinch again. Chaos Lord on Manticore, Chaos Lord on foot, 10 warriors, 2x3 Varangard in battle regiment. So 1 drop prize sorcery. Yeah, insert Archaon and prosper.
Yeah, amazing.
So, yeah, good. Yeah, solid. And then the last one. This is the Age of Styles. So this was the Bucks tournament. TO was Laurie Hug It Wild, and this was
Fan of the show.
20. We had a few fan of the show. We had a few drops, but ended up being 14 players, and it was a really I attended. It was wonderful. There was just a really nice group of people to spend a weekend with, play
Lovely.
Warhammer, chat, shoot the breeze, and there were some good quality lists and players there. Mike Stewart was there, who's been doing really well with his Fire Slayers, and also his I think he did really well at Carnage. He was on top table at Carnage. But yeah, overall it was just, I'm not part of the club, but I got invited in, and I was made welcome, and it was awesome. Loads of really good hobby and stuff, and big props to Darren who hosted. So in terms of winners and losers, it was the Sons of Bahamut, ran by Steve Curtis. Now I was disappointed that he wasn't running a Death Army. I think most people were surprised that he wasn't running a Death Army.
Has he modelled them as, because he's pretty good
he's an excellent hobbyist.
That's the word I'm looking for. Excellent hobbyist. Has he done them as a death gargants?
Well, no, they were actually his brother's army, because he's painting a Death Army, but to a very high standard. So he wasn't able to get it ready in time. So he bought the fatties, he bought the big lads, and he got 4 wins, a draw, and a loss with a Taker tribe list, which again is on the Honest Wargamer
linked in the
website
chat right now. Yeah.
It was a very combat meta. Those sons with Taker tribe, you walk onto the objectives, and you count as 30. The little guys count as 15. It's really, really hard to shift. We had a chat, and he actually had a mirror match, and literally in a Sons of Bahamut mirror match, it's whoever goes first, because you walk on and you immediately score all the objectives, and then your opponent, and you hold, and your opponent can't take you off. The one draw was actually a top table draw against Laurie's list, but no losses there. And I believe he played into quite a lot of other combat armies and was able to tank and hold. I think the Fire Slayers in his game 5 was his closest match. Because obviously, as you touched on earlier, Rob, they do have the output to kill megas in fast enough time to then be able to score the points. They played the Vice was round 5.
And the megas are giving up VPs, and the Fire Slayers aren't.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that does come into it as well, But again, talking about grand strategies, Sons of Bahamut with Beastmaster, you've got to kill all of them. So let alone can you kill enough of them to win on the points. To deny them their grand strategy, which is that clutch 3 points, you've got to kill all of them. Really difficult, right?
100%.
I'm not sure.
The list itself is a Gatebreaker Mega, a Kraken Eater Mega, a War Stomper Mega, so it's the triple, all in Taker Tribe, and then 3 wands of Man Crushers for some nice board control and also for grabbing objectives. Just like you say, they're probably never giving up their grand strategy, which is an auto 3 points. They're achieving battle tactics, some which other people can't achieve with their megas, so they're kind of on top. It's really whether or not, and it's a big DPS check army. I really expect this army to do very well in Age of Sigmar 3, very, very well. Also, you aren't spending tons of time on micro-moving your army around, so you've got a lot more resources just to be thinking about. You're not over, thinking a hero phase. So, you'll see some you'll pick an army, and they'll spend quite a while on their hero phase just working out the order of how they're going to do stuff. Thanks, Hamsfan, for donating a gift subscription, by the way. Thanks, Archeon's Chosen, for resubscribing. That then they've got less time to think about the movement phase. The Mega Gargant players are like, lol, move my stuff, done, eat a rice cake or whatever they do, or a ham shank that they brought with them in a pocket, or, any of those things, a Greg's pasty that they've just buried in their shirt top pocket, and they've got loads of time. And I really expect them to do well in this edition. They've got all the sort of tools to do well in this edition.
Yeah, and I think on that point as well, Rob,
also Steve's
I watched quite a bit of sport. Yeah, Steve's a great player, and he did play a couple of mirrors against better lists. Double Gatebreaker is a better list than his, but he was able to get the win through his knowledge and also winning the roll-off to go first in one of the games. I think
you can't be good, be lucky. Yeah, or be good and be lucky. Yeah,
yeah, man, he's got it on his shirt, man. Roll 6s, baby. So he definitely he earned it. He took out the tournament on strength of schedule. I think actually on extended strength of schedule, which is what separated them out. But just going back quickly to your point, Rob, about about the you haven't got too many decisions to make. I watch a lot of sport, and when you watch a football tournament and you're thinking, oh yeah, we drew them in the next round and they played all the way through to extra time and the players are going to be exhausted. I think that Sons of Bahamut players are probably going to be they're not going to have the mental drain on game 5 that somebody who's pushing around 100 models or 150 models is going to have, right? So I think that you can be quite fresh going into those later rounds, potentially. That might be complete horseshit, but I just thought of it then, so I thought I'd say it. You've not got too many decisions to make. Then the runner-up, and as I say, only separated by strength of schedule, was Laurie with Slaves to Darkness, Hosts of the Everchosen. So this is the one whereby you're able to roll and who's going to be getting the next turn. Even though he got drawn into Be'lakor in round 5, even shutting down Archeon for a turn or 2 turns, Laurie was able to get the win there. He had a block of 30 Marauders that were Mask of Darkness teleporting, and I think in that sub-faction, the whole army's Battle Shock immune, which is really strong. And then, there was a Chaos Lord on foot, who I think is really good. Yeah, Dark Prophecy. Thanks, Tom Megan's in the chat. I think the Chaos Lord on foot, the old argument was always that he's too slow to keep up with Archeon. But now with the abundance of CP, you can always auto 6 run him without not having this. You've still got CP to do the other stuff you want to do. So he is going to be piling in and attacking twice more in that Slaves build. You can have a Khorne Archeon level of output, but sticking within the Slaves book and all the good stuff that brings you. There was a War Shrine in there, a Sork Lord, 3 Varangard. Varangard coming up everywhere, man. Like, they're really good for 280, I
Really
think.
good for 280.
And then in third place, some scrub came in third who decided to push bloody Bone Reapers around again.
Owen, you
and
got a little
lucky.
trophy.
I did get a little trophy. I don't know, it's somewhere. But yeah, I took my Bone Reapers. I won't bollock on because it would be a bit glib if I just rattle on about my games or whatever. But I did a sub. I lost my first game into Gargants because I couldn't kill them quick enough. But I took my favourite model in the game at the moment, Mia Kanan and his Reapers, the Underworld's Warband. Love you, Mia.
You've
my
got
boy.
it, Mia.
He's just the best. He's just the best. And so many players kept coming up going, God, that model's amazing. Like, he's genuinely... We were saying that if he walked into the OBR arms, you'd have all your Mortek Guard who are like 6 foot tall. He's like fucking 12 foot tall. They would clear the bar. He could order anything he wanted. The music would stop and he'd be like, Mia's in town. He's got his big axe and you're not going to fuck with him. Sorry if kids are watching, but he just gets me all frothy. So yeah, I had him, Mia Kanan, 2 blocks of 20 Mortek, 5 Death Riders, Umbral Spell Portal, and Burning Head. So I was doing the obnoxious thing where I can damage myself after I've cast the spell, teleport anywhere out on the board, and then I can move in. So people have to screen out for that, and they also have to screen out for 24-inch Hand of Dust. So over the weekend, because I like this sort of thing, he Hand of Dusted all on full wounds. He Hand of Dusted Terrorgeist and Manfred in one game.
Nice.
Then he took off Frostlord on Stonehorn General on turn 1 on the Sunday morning, and then Megaboss on Maw-Crusher, who failed his 4-up weird unsave after he'd been charged by him on the previous turn. So Nagash tanked Kragnos for 2 turns and a Megaboss on Maw-Crusher. I Hand of Dusted off the Maw-Crusher and then chopped Kragnos' head off in combat. And I 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. And I had a wonderful time. And I even made a charge after I was redeployed against Rob.
Joy. The joy.
Yeah, that was
the joy.
Yeah, man.
With no rerolls, just the joy of everyone. Yeah.
Colonel Cabbage, Petrifex Nagash is silly. I know, but the rest of the army doesn't play AOS 3, so let me have my fun. The trick with it is, Rob, what I did was, if somebody screens their whole army out, and then what Jack did, and I had a brilliant game with Jack in my last game. He kept nudging forward a tiny bit, and then he left a gap in behind Kragnos. And my fear with Kragnos, if you've got a monster with Kragnos, like that charge thing is horrible, isn't it? You know, the 2d6, and you
could
can
wipe out
do 36 mortal wounds. Yeah, that scared the hell out of me. So because he was screening with some Bolt Boys, I knew that if I got in behind him, if he redeployed, he'd hit the back of his own screen if I jumped in behind. So when he wasn't able to redeploy, so I went in and had fun. So yeah, it was brilliant. I had a great time pushing around Nagash. He's, some relationships don't last as long as you think they're going to do, but Nagash is for life. Okay, Peeps. Look at him.
Yeah, he's very, very good, and arguably even better in Soul Black Gravelords. So.
Wash your mouth out. Wash your mouth out. You're right, but wash your mouth out.
Might be one of the things we've seen. Okay, well, a good day, right? Like a nice mix of stuff. Very different to last week. Last week, we couldn't stop talking about Tzeentch Archaon, and we haven't had to face that this week. A lot of one-dayers, and some of those dayers not particularly massive. Doesn't mean the Tzeentch Archaon threat isn't around, nor is the Morathi Bowsnakes threat still there, because they definitely are all there. But it's nice seeing some of these others. Also, it's still a few weeks until we even see the pre-order for Stormcast Eternals, so that kind of Annihilator list is still like an interesting take. And if they maintain the same rules in the book with a good sub-allegiance, and if they maintain those same points, those Annihilators could really be like the drop mortal wound spam, because there's very little you can do to stop it, right?
Yeah, if I was to play it, I would play Gardas, and he would drop down as well, and I would pretend that because he's doing that fist slam on the ground, that's what's doing all the mortal wounds, right? Because that should do something.
It doesn't.
Is it +1 bravery? It's +1 gravy or something, isn't it? Like, it's literally a meme. Anyway, I just want to shout out Kragnos Fanboy in the chat. That must be Jack. So thanks again for the game, Jack. I had a wicked time. But yeah, great to see some different stuff. And you're right, we haven't said the word Morathi or bow snake until you brought it up. So
avoided it.
That was nice.
Avoided it. Yeah, like really good. And just a fun weekend. So thanks to everyone who played over the weekend at all of the events around the world. We've got upcoming events though. That's next on our list, right?
Yes. Oh shit. Yeah, I thought we were done. Yes,
just a
of course
quick one.
We do. Yeah. Well, there's something coming up this weekend, isn't there, Rob?
Super Series.
I've talked enough. What's coming up this weekend?
So yeah, Super Series. We've got a Super Series match this weekend. So 2 teams of 6. Normally a Super Series match is 2 teams of 4. But Genesis, the Super Series event we ran previously, if you don't know what that is, go and look at the T Sports Network. Is a were 4-man events, but had a really good chat. There's a blog post up if you guys want to go check out on the tsportsnetwork.com, where you can go and read about kind of my thoughts. Had a good chat with Tony Moore and Tom Maudsley when they were playing in the Marauders team about running a 6-man. So we're doing a tester just this weekend. It's just a test. It's not any qualifiers for anything else. It's just a test. Dragon Slayers versus South London Legion. Owen's in the South London Legion. Dragon Slayers, as we know, did so well in the Super Series, unfortunate not to have taken it out, loses the Bad Moon Loons. So we're going to be running live stream coverage all this Saturday. I got a great live stream crew. Got Dan, Mallow, Matt, and Adam's going to be joining me in the booth. So that's all of Saturday, and it's going to be 3 rounds of Age of Sigmar 3 Warhammer. Now the band show is tonight. That's going to be really interesting, leading into the start of a new edition. What we're going to see banned. So it's going to be very, very winner Dave in the chat from Legio.
I think some of my opponents from the weekend would agree with him as well. To be
fair. Oh, is Dave there?
Dave, I think Dave experienced Team Wales Dice at the Super Series, and then most of my opponents from the weekend experienced the joy of me going, all right then, so just double dragons to deny you your battle tactic then. Yeah. Look at that, double dragons. Sweet.
Dave's amazing, by the way. Love Dave. So the band show's tonight at 6:30 BST, so that's going to be on tsportsnetwork.com, T-Sports Network Twitch, so go watch it on that. And then this Saturday. And then we're also going to be doing live coverage on Sunday. We've got a 16-man event here in the TSN Arena, just a singles event called Hammerstorm. So we're also going to be doing coverage of that. So a whole weekend of Age of Sigmar 3 live coverage, which is very exciting. Haven't had a chance to live cover a game of Age of Sigmar 3 yet. So very much looking forward to talking battle tactics, grand strategies, kind of breaking it down a little bit, how we feel the games are going to go, if we think the tempo is going to change up. It's an exciting time. So that's going to be this Saturday, which I'm looking forward to a lot. Hey, Jay for Jackson, thanks for donating some gift subscriptions in the chat. What up? Big love to you. So that's this weekend. What else is coming up, Owen?
If I'm not mistaken, this weekend the Danish guys have got the Battle of Copenhagen, and we've been signposting it for time, and I think that there's only a week to go now. Well, just under 2 weeks to go for NashCon on the 21st of August. Yep. So I think Bud is going down. I'm not sure if any. I don't know if Mamdare, Dayton from Part of the All Points, and Bud from Part of the All Points go in. And obviously, I think David Griffin's the TO there, and they have amazing tables. Sorry if I haven't shouted at anybody else that's going, but I know that lots of the American and Canadian communities are all going to NashCon. So that's going to be a big one. I'll be interested to see what those lists are. And then there's one that you've got a steer on. Is the Gurish onset in Germany? That must be the 60-person event then, right?
Yeah. There are also 4 events happening in the US this weekend, actually, Owen. So I'm just going to get these. Big shout out to Joe Cryer for sending me the hot info on these. So we've got Old Town Throwdown, we've got Flying Monkey Con, Summer Slaughter GT, and of course there's Games Workshop's first US major in Florida, one of the COVID hotspots in the world right now. But that's going to be a really major one. They've got an Age of Sigmar and 40k event happening in that Florida event. So I think I don't know what the numbers are, because obviously they won't put it out, but it's some sort of, I don't know what the numbers are.
Sorry, Tom, I'm reading Rob's notes on that one. So the Gurish onset isn't in Germany, Rob. It's in the Netherlands.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Apologise. Yeah.
I also love you too, Rob. So sorry. But hey, man, that's a lot. It's a lot of information we have to try and cram in on a Monday morning, isn't it? So we might get the odd thing wrong, but it's all done with love and it's all done for free as well, right? So apologies.
Yeah, no.
Don't at me.
And big shout out to Musaka Koala says there's a one-day Games Workshop Champion short in Brisbane this weekend. Send us all the information. Again, there's an email. It's there on the screen. I'll include it in the show notes. If you've got events you want to put on the calendar, put it in there. Email it all so that so we get it Sunday night, Monday morning, so we can unpack it and start talking about it because we'd love to know about it. If you guys are out there and want to help with any of that, get in touch and that'd be sweet as well. Owen, good day. I'm feeling really excited about the band show tonight, and I'm looking forward to some Age of Sigmar because I still think the meta is still evolving so much. Of course, Tzeentch Archeon is really good. Of course, Morathi Bowsnakes are good, but some Annihilator lists just coming out from the woodwork. Lone Star Open, seeing that Living City list go 4-1 recently. Very excited to see some of these lists play on the tabletop over the next 6 months and see where the meta shakes out. Effectively. A final shout out to the DKM guys on those stats.
Yeah, I've got nowhere to be, so we can have a quick look. Do you want to have a look at them, or do you want to just give them a shout?
Well, just a shout out to their stats. They just put them
Yes.
up, and there's some standard ways. But again, I don't think it's tons of data. But you can go find it, and I'll include the link in the chat. And I'll include it in the show notes so you guys can go check it out for yourselves. Yeah, happy with that?
Yeah.
All right, good.
I'm really happy with that. I just got distracted by JJ number 10. Hey JJ, and now I'm Gutsman. Oh, look at these cool people arriving to the
Wonderful.
party.
I think I'm seeing JJ this weekend. Is he playing at the event? I think maybe. I'm not sure. That'll be good. Thanks AOS Pete for subscribing. Big love. I'll be back again tonight. Me and Owen will be back next week for the Stat Center. And then I'll be live tonight at 6:30 on the T Sports Network. So go check it out. So make sure you join us for the first bands of Age of Sigmar 3. And then what's up, Owen?
I didn't want to leave without my shout outs. I've actually got a few shout outs.
Go for it.
So sorry to interrupt
that's
your
fine.
flow. So I just want to shout out, the Bucks Wargaming Collective. If anyone does live in the Buckinghamshire, High Wycombe area and wants to, learn about Age of Sigmar, I can't recommend a nicer bunch to learn with. Great group, and specifically Darren, who put on the Styles GT. I'd also like to shout out Darren Watson. He's got a big birthday this week. I think he's 21. It's his 21st birthday this week. He's got a big one. I know he's got a big monumental birthday, so it's definitely his 21st because he can't be anything over that, surely. I'd like to shout out my cousin Adam for coming over and playing 2 games of AOS with me. That was fun. And I also want to shout out the Dragon Slayers because they're shit out of luck. We don't really play because we don't play with dragons, baby. So you ain't slaying nothing.
Wow. That's some hot gossip before the. Take to Twitter with that sort of attitude, Owen. That's what I want to see. All right, listen, it's been lovely talking to you all. Thanks. Don't forget, we'll be live again for the Age of Sigmar Monday night show again tonight with Nathan, James, and Dan. We'll be doing a tier list for the other 3 factions that aren't order. It's going to be great. Loads of love to everyone. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys soon. Have a great day.